Joined now by John Gibson, the voice of the Falcons on the radio, alongside Todd Walker. And John, senior day coming up this Friday against Buffalo. And this is a senior class for the Falcons who, you talk about a group of kids who've gone through the ringer, the ups and downs, played for a MAC championship, went through a coaching change, and now going through another coaching change. There's a lot of pride on the line for BG coming up against Buffalo.
Well, these guys have been through it all. I mean, they're tough. They've had to be tough because of the circumstances of playing at Bowling Green. Some of these guys were recruited by Clawson even. But they've done what they had to do going forward to put themselves in a position where they can finish out with some pride. This season didn't quite go the way that they wanted it to, but I think they have an opportunity to go out here and beat Buffalo. We saw that Buffalo took that major L to Ohio last week, I believe it was. And everything's on the table. I mean, Bowling Green at this point, if they go out here and they win this game, they create a three-way tie, and I think the tiebreaker puts Miami into the MAC championship game.
It depends upon what happens with the Ohio game and what Miami does. I mean, Buffalo's certainly still in the driver's seat, but as you touched on, the Bulls losing to Ohio last week makes the MAC East very much up for grabs. And I think if you looked at the BG schedule back in August, you could say, okay, there's a chance to get some wins at the end of the year. After the way the season started, to have 2 wins at this point in the MAC, 3 wins overall, and a chance to finish with a 4-win season, pick up another win to end the season, a remarkable way for this team to go out, because they could have very easily packed up their bags a month ago. They didn't. They're battling, and now they're in a position to perhaps play spoiler for the Bulls.
Well, I think it says a lot about the players, their individual character, their talent, but it also says a lot about the coaching staff and the work that they've done to get themselves into this position. Like you said, they had every reason to lay down after that Ohio loss and say, hey, you know what, we're going to play it all out and see what happens. But they didn't. They dug in, they worked hard, and they battled back. I mean, you saw last week there was such a spirited effort against Akron, and in a game where, again, it's cold. That's the thing about the end of the year during here. It's cold outside. You don't want to do anything to speed the game up when it's not going well, or to slow the game down, should I say, when it's not going well. But they fought, they battled, and they went out and they shut down a bad Akron offense, but they shut it down. Cato Nelson, their Akron's quarterback, was not healthy. They went out there and made sure that he didn't hurt us. And there were some big plays that Akron got, but we fought, and Jared looked good. At times the defensive line looked better than they've looked all year long. And you wonder, where was that defensive line at the beginning of the year, or what would the season look like had Akron, Kent, Central Michigan been those first 3 MAC games as opposed to Toledo and Western?
Talk about the defense. Back-to-back weeks now, the defense has not allowed any second-half points. They're going to be challenged, though. Tyree Jackson, a dual-threat quarterback for Buffalo. We saw what he could do against Toledo. Obviously, he's not coming off his best performance against Ohio, but he is a dangerous threat that's going to test a Falcon defense, which is playing pretty good right now.
He's a good quarterback. I mean, he ate us up last year. Buffalo's a good outfit, man. They've built, they've had their downs, but they're a good football program. I mean, it was just, 4 or 5 years ago, we were playing them for a chance to go to the MAC championship game, and then they went into the tank and they've rebuilt. And Tyree Jackson, they got a wide receiver out there that's really, really good. They're talking about he's going to be a first rounder or a high pick in the NFL draft next spring. And so you really got some talent. You've got to find a way to shut it down. But with the defensive effort that I saw Saturday, if we can get the defensive line play that we saw, and mind you, craziest thing in the world, I didn't realize it during the game, but we only played 4 down linemen. We have a rotation of about 5 guys, and the 5th guy woke up with flu-like symptoms and couldn't go on Saturday. And so you're looking at a situation where they got after it like that for 60 minutes with a short-handed on the defensive line, which has been the problem all year. I think that says a lot about how they were able to fit into the system.
In your mind, has Karl Polanyi done enough to be considered a serious candidate to be the full-time head coach?
Serious candidate? I think you have to talk to him. I mean, I think you have to talk to him. I think he's been a guy who's taken a tough string, and he's worked with it. And you see he's worked hard. You see that he has the team. I think that you have to at least have the conversation with him. I don't know if he will be the most awe-inspiring candidate. But I think you have to have a conversation with him. I mean, he knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. He's a good football coach and he's a good guy. But I think that you're going to have to bring some other people into that mix just to have the conversation.
I think one of the things that stands out for what Karl Polanyi has been able to do the last couple of weeks is his recruiting. He has been able to pick up a couple of verbal commits because, remember, you got that December 19th signing day. That changes the entire calendar. So he's still doing what he can to bring that next class in for the Falcons. Last home game for the seniors. What do you remember from your senior day?
Oh, man. It was good weather. It was ridiculously good weather in November. We were, at that point, 7-3. Toledo's coming in the building, and Toledo's ranked, and world beaters. You got Chester Taylor over there, and they were they were rolling, and we were playing well. And it's the first time I believe we played a Friday after Thanksgiving, just like this week. And I remember it was unseasonably warm. I came in, I gave my mom a jersey, and we went out and really beat up on Toledo. 52 to 10 or something ridiculous like that, and I actually wound up on the cover of the Blade the next morning. That was actually really cool. Then the students tore the goalpost down, and it was ridiculous. Like you're fighting back tears because you're walking out, and Coach Meyer give you the hug, and you're like, really, this is the last time that this is going to happen. It was special. I get goosebumps thinking about it. But that last time going out there into the Detroit and having that opportunity to perform for the people one last time. And our game wasn't even a morning game. It was a Friday evening game. So it was nighttime. It was big time for the Northwest Ohio because it was BG Toledo. Great attendance. It was a great night.
Speaking of BG Toledo, we've seen this game be moved all over the calendar. I'm of the opinion, I liked playing at the end of the year. I don't necessarily have a great idea of when to play it. I just wish they would pick a time of the year and keep the BG Toledo game at that time of the year in and year out. Build that tradition, whether it be the Friday after Thanksgiving, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, wherever you're going to put it, keep it there for 10 years and let that tradition build instead of having it at a different point in the year each and every year.
Well, I think that's an ESPN thing, unfortunately,
absolutely.
and that's not something that I personally believe that's a late October game. That needs to be a October 20th to October 30th start, 6 o'clock at whoever's house we're playing it at. That's my opinion. I think that it needs to be played late October. It needs to stay there. And, I would love for it to be like a Red River rivalry or something like that, where we know it's going to be this week every year, because that's the magnitude of it for this area. I don't think that the people who make the decisions with when that game is going to be played, they're not from here. They don't understand the need to have one specific time when that game is going to be, so that it can turn into a classic type of game, or to the Red River rivalry, or the world's oldest outdoor cocktail party, or something like that. Good old clean fashion hate. Why do they have so many of those games in the South?
It just means more, according to the marketing people.
Yeah, it needs to have that type of feel. The Battle of I-75, it's one of the best traditions in college football, and it deserves, in my opinion, a lot more respect.
Friday at noon, Falcons get a chance to write their final chapter of the 2018 season. I want to thank John Gibson, the radio analyst for BGSU.